Even my cat is a little upset at the supposed deal I had. He doesn't even want you to see it. Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris, and that is one of my cats, Oregon. He's one of the strays we took in, and of course this is We Love Comics, and this is going to be one of those valuable lessons of make sure you check your comics, because unfortunately there are some dishonest people out there in the world of eBay, and to me it doesn't really matter because I will get my money back or anything, and I will show you at the end after I show you the problems. I will show you the actual auction so you could see what I'm talking about and not think I'm just making it up. See, my cat is so upset. So this is in regards to the book I showed the other day. So if you haven't seen it, watch the other video first so you could find out what's going on. And it's this book right here. And that is Fantastic Four issue number 12. Now, I got it for a really good price. I checked the auction. They showed only 3 pictures, gave a very limited description, said there is no restoration, nothing really wrong with it, said it's in good shape. So I took the person's word for it because I look at it this way. Even if it wasn't, I can always get my money back, so it's worth taking the chance on. Now, I knew that this was tape, so I wasn't worried about that, but I'm going to take the book out and I'm going to show you a couple of things because this really bothered me. Because I noticed, and if you noticed in the comic, when I did the other video, this was exposed. And this says they paid $12 for top cover chips inside, and here's something that they put on there. I guess they meant to put this on the inside, which they should have done because I wouldn't have noticed, but I'm glad they were that silly, and I'm using that as a nice word. But 4 pages are replicas. So, I found this in the book. So they replaced, it's only 1 page, but it's, you know, pages on each side, and as you could see, it does affect the story, because on both sides, and on this side, there are parts of the story involved. Not only that, now I knew about this hole punch, I was okay with that. They didn't say anything about the fact that this is not attached at all. Every page, because look, ladies and gentlemen, there are no staples. They didn't mention that, and again, at the end of this video, I will show the actual auction. So I knew about these little chips, but every single page is not attached because there are no staples. So this book is basically worth about $12 at best. It is incomplete, it has the tape, it has no staples. All the pages are not attached to each other. They're all disconnected to the cover. And none of this was ever mentioned. And this person cannot say, well, I didn't know, like so many of them claim to do, which most of the time I find utterly ridiculous. But it says right here, 4-page replica. And if you look at the video from the other day when I made this, it actually shows this. So it's not like I turned it around and it was on here and he could say, or she could say, I don't want to assume it's a guy, that they didn't know. Because this was facing outward. So go check out the other video if you haven't seen it, so you could see that this was there, and I didn't notice it at first because it's such small pages. But what I always do after I make a video is I always take them out of the bag and board. So even if this wasn't shown, I would have taken this out. Now, when you're going through the book, you could feel this is different paper. So I would have noticed that right away, and I would have found out about it. But I would have also noticed the no staples and everything disconnected and not attached. So none of this was mentioned. Now, this is where you got to know about things called contract law. In contract law, there is something that is stated as full disclosure, which means if there are very significant things that are important for a buyer to be aware of, a seller is obligated by law to fully disclose what's wrong with something. It's to protect the buyer. Now, some people say, oh, what about what is it, caveat, whatever it is, let the buyer beware. That is not always the case when it comes to things that people are purposely misleading and not mentioning. Like, for example, if you went to go buy a brand new car, and you go to, let's just say, ABC dealership that sells the ABC car, and you take one out, you take it for a test drive, you absolutely love the car and say, I want to buy this car, where do I sign? So you leave them deposit, they write out the contract, and they say, all right, we'll have it delivered to your house tomorrow. It'll be there, no problem. So you go home thinking, I just bought a car. Well, they deliver the car to you, and they drop it off in the driveway. They hand you the keys and say, have a great day, and take off. Well, you decide, well, I just got this brand new car, I'm going to go take it for a spin. You put the key in the ignition, and the car doesn't start. You go to open the hood to find out there's no engine. Now, you're going to be very upset about that, because when you took a test drive of the car, it did have an engine. And that's something you would want in your purchase of your car. Now, you could have signed a contract, and it could have said somewhere on page 75 in small print that there was no engine in this car. The fact that they did not disclose that, you are protected from. So for this seller to be protected, they would have had to have shown pictures, or at least mention that there were no staples in the book, that this amount of pages, which is 4 pages total, even though it's just technically 1 page, but 4 pages were replicas, and the entire book is detached from the cover, and they're all separated because there are no staples. They failed to mention that, which means I basically gave them the option. I said, I paid, I think, like $138 for this book. I said, I'll give you one of 2 choices. You can give me a $120 refund, which would mean I would pay $17 for this book, which I think would be a fair price for this book with those situations. Or you could pay to have it shipped back, and I will be more than happy to get my refund. Now, this person can complain, they can try and strong-arm me, they can try and scare me, whatever, but they are not going to have any ground to stand on. So I will either get that refund, or I will, get the partial refund and be able to keep the book. They might just say, you know what, keep the book. But unfortunately, this person was very dishonest. And when you see the rating, he has like over a 400 rating with a 100% ratio. So you cannot always assume everybody's going to be honest. Sometimes these things are going to happen. But if you don't check the books when you purchase them, you lose your leg to stand on. Because if, like, for example, with that car, if you decide to not drive that car for 6 months, and then all of a sudden go back to the dealership all upset that there was no engine, well, if you were silly enough not to check, that's your own fault. So there is a time limit. So as soon as I saw this, I sent the message. Now I'm waiting for this person to reply. If they don't reply within a day or two, because I do give them the benefit of the doubt that they might not get the email right away, I'll just report it and I'll get my money back. So if people don't want these situations to happen, because unfortunately they will happen from time to time, make sure you check your comics. Make sure you don't assume that even a person that has a 400 rating, a 100% positive rating with over 400 ratings, that they're going to do the right thing. This should show that this person purposely tried to deceive me. Because like I said, this was on the outside of it, so when you saw the book, this was like this. So it wasn't like they didn't know, unless the person is blind. But, anyway, people will always make excuses. So be prepared to check your comics. Don't assume, because the only person that gets hurt in the long run is you. So I'm going to be protected. I've had things like this happen before, some intentional, some accidental, others somewhere in between, because you'll never sometimes really ever know. But I've always gotten my money back, or I got a significant refund back, because I pay attention. And that's why I'm posting this video, because I want you all to protect yourselves, because especially if you are new, and you're not aware of how comics are supposed to be, unfortunately, there are people who will try and take advantage, and some that may not know themselves. So we don't want to assume that everybody's a liar and everybody's a fraud. There are people out there who may just not know, but that's not going to make you feel any better if you spend $100, $200, $300, $500, $1,000 on a book only to find out it wasn't what you thought it was. Because trust me when I say, if all of that information would have been provided on the auction like it's supposed to, I either would have not bid on this at all, or maybe did a bid of $20 maximum. They didn't give me that option because they were not being honest. But that's one of the benefits I love about eBay's protection, and that wouldn't go into effect unless I checked it every time. So please do that with your books. Don't ever be in the situation where you find out 6-8 months later that you finally decide, I'm going to read the book and check it out, and then discover this information. Because trust me when I say, this is the first time that somebody was silly enough, and again, I'm using that word instead of other words I would like to use, would not normally write this stuff on the back of the board. So this person knew what they were doing. So if you want to see the actual auction at the end, just stay tuned for that. If you haven't seen any of my other videos before, please check them out. Hit subscribe. Go to my playlist so you can see I not only just do unboxings, I do comic hauls. I even have plenty of advice and how-to videos that can help improve your ability to collect comics and prevent things like this from happening, or ways to even win on eBay. I give plenty of tips, and I don't charge a dime for them. It's free for everybody. So if you appreciate it, thumbs up always help. Share your stories in the comment section if you want to. Let me know what you think about this. And don't forget, it's not you, it's not I, it's we love comics, even though sometimes we don't love the people who sell them. And that's alright. So thanks for listening, and I will see you next video. And I'm going to zoom in, and he's going to get stoned, yada yada yada, funny thing, exit, good night. What's up, guys? I wanted to show you the auction as promised so you could see that I'm not over-exaggerating or anything like that. So, first thing I want you to see, 404 different ratings, 100% positive feedback. Okay, so this is not a brand new seller. This is not somebody that made a fake profile just to sell a book. This is somebody that's fairly well established on eBay. So as you could see, $132.50, $5 shipping. Now I'm going to show you, they only had 3 images. You have the first, which is obviously the one that you saw in the comic book, and you could see I knew there was tape, so that wasn't a problem. I've had books with tape on them, lower grades, you know what, no big deal. I knew about the stamp because that's clear here. But here's the other 2 pictures and the only pictures they showed. So we have the cover. You have the back. Now, I knew there was a hole punch there. There aren't any other hole punches, but that's fine. I knew there was a hole here. I didn't have a problem with that. I knew there was a rip there because I saw it. So there's a hole punch there that I knew about. I knew about the dirt, all that. Again, I knew this is a lower grade. And this is the only other picture they show, the first page. So I knew about the little chewed up pieces here. But now I'm going to scroll down so you could see the description. Now, the first thing they did is just that generic stuff where they just copy and paste the stuff that Marvel Comic writes about the specific book. This isn't their specific book about the details. This is just telling you what's inside the book. So, as you can see as I scroll down, this is what they wrote. And I'll go over it. Hello. Up for a bid is an original, unrestored copy of Fantastic Four issue number 12. Comic is in decent shape. I find that funny. Check out the pictures and judge for yourself. Please ask any questions before bidding. Blah, 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 blah. That's it. Now, I'm going to scroll down, and you can see there is nothing else. So I'm scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. I don't know why they did this. Sorry about that, sneeze for a second. Still scrolling. And that's just the bottom of the auction where there is no more information. So again, I'll scroll all the way back up. Just so you can see. And that's all there is. So the person did not either show in a picture or write in the description that there are no staples, that 4 of the pages total, 3 of them will affect the story, are replica pages, not originally part of the book, and that all the pages are separated. None of these things were mentioned. So the person cannot use the excuse that many of them do by saying, oh, I didn't know, because as you can see in the other video, if you check it out, you will see that where I showed the writing where they wrote themselves that there are 4 pages that are replicas. This person knew about it, so they can't even use that as an excuse. So, unfortunately, there are people out there that unfortunately will be dishonest and think they can get away with it, and they will if you don't check your books. So again, I cannot stress that enough. So, hopefully this won't happen again, but I am always protected, so I'm not worried. That's why I'm never afraid to take a chance, and neither should you. And the other advice I would give is research as much as you can about a book, or as much about comics as you can, because the more knowledge you have, the less chance that somebody could take advantage of you, either purposely or accidentally. Because even if it's accidental, you don't care if you spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on something and find out it's not what you were led to believe it was. So know your rights. Make sure you check your books and report things as soon as you find them, and you'll always be protected. So me, I would have gotten a good deal on this, and at the very least, I would get my money back. So I'm going to win either way. So thanks for listening. I hope this helps you all to be a little bit more diligent with your comic books that you own. Don't just assume, because like I said, this person, as you can see, 404 rating, 100% positive feedback, and this happened. So it is what it is. I'm not worried. Thanks for listening, guys, and don't forget, it's not you, it's not I, it's We Love Comics, except for things like this. See you next video.